Hello and welcome back to Full Tank Truck Talk. I'm your host, Phil Eastman. I'm the host of the Full Tank with Phil podcast, where you can get your Cup Series bets each and every week. And on this YouTube channel, this is where we talk trucks. And we're back at it yet again. Need to break down a race that I was in person for. That's where we're going to start this week in the Full Tank Truck Talk here. We're going to give the race recap because we were in Pocono last week and I had a blast. Thought the racetrack did a great job on Friday. A lot of folks there. Just a perfect event, easy to get in, easy to get out, but still feels like there's a bunch of people there. We had some great weather. It was like picture perfect. And the betting card just seemed cursed. I felt like each bet that we made was the right bet. And it just, for whatever reason, things started to go weird when Grant Enfinger ran over something. There was a truck that hit the wall or something, and they didn't throw a caution. And then all of a sudden, Grant Enfinger comes down with a flat tire, and you're like, oh boy, like that's on NASCAR. They should have had a caution. So we had Grant for a top five and maybe something else. But Grant Enfinger getting into trouble, that hurt us a little bit. We had Chandler Smith, Tyler Ankrum, like those guys, they were starting mid-pack, worked their way through the field, but, they ran into some trouble. Tyler Ankrum was in some trouble, I think, with another incident with Enfinger, so he was just catching on the chin. But all that mattered to me at the end of the day was Corey Heim, because he was the right pick. We talked about him, short odds, plus 110. He was dominating the entire race. Didn't matter. Very strange in person during driver intros, Corey Heim getting booed. I didn't quite understand that. I was actually kind of shocked by that. On the flip side, Stuart Friesen got the biggest round of applause at Pocono. So I was kind of like super confused. And Corey Heim dominating the entire race. And then under caution, getting ready for probably at the moment, you assume that was the final restart. He runs over something and he gets a flat tire, which just absolutely cursed. So that sucked. The saving grace, we did have Daniel Hemrick, who was 3-1 for a top five. I think because of some of the craziness, he was a lap down at one point. Like he ran into some trouble and they got into it, but he comes in with a top five. So that did help us. Little shocked that it was such a sweat and such an effort for that team to get that top five, but hey, we'll take it. That was our, one thing that really did come home well and for a good number there. So, but again, kind of cursed, with some of these flat tires and the incidents that they ran into. All in all, though, I had a blast. A bad betting card or an unlucky betting card isn't going to ruin my day. So, great day at Pocono, and I was glad I went. All right, so now let's get into what we're doing here looking ahead, because I am not a huge fan of the trucks on road courses, but that's where we're headed this week. We're going to Lime Rock, which is a new addition to the schedule. And so there's a lot to talk about here, And there was a part of me that was like, I don't know. I don't know if I really feel like putting an episode out. Like I don't have anything that I'm like totally, betting with so much conviction like last week. But thought about it and was like, well, last week didn't really work out. They were the right picks, but they didn't come home. So we have this is, the last race for a while. They're going to be off for like a month. And when they're back, I believe it's IRP, I'm going to be on vacation. So probably won't be able to put one of these out. So I was like, you know what? I got to get on the horn. Let's get to some pen and papers out and let's start making some notes on what we can put together here for this Lime Rock race. So Lime Rock, we'll break it down here for you. It is the first road course of the year, and it's a new one, and it's a different style track. So I'm going to remove myself from the screen here sorry, I can't do that. I'm going to be off to the side here for a second, but bad graphics here. But I just wanted to show Lime Rock. Weird road course, very strange road course. I don't know who put this track together, but it was like they were like half committed. So you see, and there's elevation changes as well. They go up the hill and then down the hill to come across the start finish line and pit road. So a very interesting uh, layout to this race, all in all. So we'll see how they handle this, but the schedule for the weekend, all these things I think are worth mentioning. We've got 1 p.m. practice on Friday. So you may or may not be watching this before that, but it's a 2-day show. So us as gamblers, they got a 50-minute practice schedule. I love that. We need to dissect what went down in practice, see who's good and who's not, and hopefully the books, that's a good amount of time, 1 p.m. Friday. The race is 1 p.m. Saturday. So good amount of time for the books to do something. Qualifying is on Saturday morning at 9:30. So I would assume, once qualifying happens, we probably won't have much from the books, but practice is going to tell us, a lot. And what we're looking for is the fact that the entry list, excuse me, it's got some wonky names in it. Some wonky names this week for Lime Rock, and it's the road course ringers. So that's what we want to look for, is how do some of these other drivers that are coming in fare against, some of the regulars. We've got names here that I'm going to throw out here. Brent Cruz driving the 1 car, William Lambros driving the 2 car. The 07 is Thomas Annunziata. The 7 is Jordan Taylor. We've got, let's see, just going down the list here, Dale Quarterly, who's like 1,000,000 years old, but he's racing in the 32. We've got Josh Palicki running in this race. Wesley Simp, Cam Waters driving the 66. So just a lot of different names, because this is a road course that we see these, other teams saying, hey, we can take advantage and try to cash in with one of these drivers. So practice is going to mean a lot to us as gamblers. Now we're going to look at this in a little bit different way, but I'll get to the bets here in just a second. Stages, another interesting thing. Stage 1 is 35 laps. Stage 2 is 35 laps, but stage 3 is shorter. Unless my math is like totally wrong. Stage 3 is only 30 laps, which is a little bit different than we're used to seeing from truck races and cup races. Usually stage 3 is longer. Now the bigger thing, and I was done recording the draft last night with Ryan Stevens and Tino Patino, and we were just kind of shooting the shit about the truck race, and kind of threw this out to them like, hey, this is a race that is not, they're standalone race. They're not with Xfinity and Cup. Typically that means no live pit stops. And sure enough, Ryan looked it up for us, and it doesn't look like there's going to be live pit stops this week, because there's a lot of pit crew members that do double duty and triple duty. They're not going to have their full squads. So if we don't have live pit stops, which it seems like Daily Downforce is posting that as well, it seems like that's the case. That to me would benefit the ringers, because they don't have to worry about the stress of coming in and gaining or losing spots on pit road. It's going to be, there will be stage breaks, but it's not going to be an opportunity for them to, win a battle off pit road. So for drivers who are hopping into the truck for the first time this season, or a couple times this season, they're not going to have to get acclimated with pit road speed and getting in and out, in the truck. It's going to help them, I think. It would just seem that way from, 30,000 foot view. So, ringers may be helped out here, and we'll see. Now, Corey Heim is at the top of the board again. He's plus 130. I feel like this is another track where we could maybe talk about guys that aren't Corey Heim. Heim won last time we were out at COTA. If you remember, feels like a really long time ago. Coda in 2024, man, that was like towards the top of the season. Connor Zilic was making his debut, and he like blew the first turn, and then he had to fight all the way back like twice. So Corey Heim was a benefactor of that, ends up winning that race. But Heim isn't this like end all be all type of road course racer. He's good. Now, as far as like a data set is concerned, I'm only going back last 6 road course races at the start of 2022 season. And if you do that, Corey Heim's got 4 races, 2 victories, 3 top 10s. So he's good, right? But to me, with a new track no one has seen before, this is an opportunity maybe to go somewhere else. So that's why, I feel like at Pocono, he was short for a reason, and we felt good about it. We had a reason to feel really good about it. He's too short at plus 130 for me to call out to start the betting card here. So we're going to look in other directions. And this episode, I want it to be more of like a conversation. Okay. We're throwing things out there. I want to hear, if anything sticks with you as the listener and, other gamblers out there, because I think there is like some back and forth to be had. And, we're going to get to see practice and see how this goes. But I'll start with, the outrights, and I'm going to be calling out a lot of different names. And then as we get to the finish line section, a lot of like different conversations, how do we feel about certain things, kind of leans, that sort of thing, different types of bets in this episode. And we're going to start with right away, somebody that's completely different. Jordan Taylor. He's going off at plus 650 still as I'm recording on Thursday night on Bet365 plus 650. He is shorter than that on other books. I'm seeing like 5-1 on, a couple books. So Jordan Taylor is driving the number 7 truck, the Spire number 7 Gamebridge, like the all-star truck. That's the one you want. That's the one that he's getting. Jordan Taylor is one of very few people in the field. I think there's like 3 people in the entire field that has Lime Rock experience, and he has a lot of it. He knows this track very well. He is quoted as saying, "I know that track very well." He's a supercars guy, 3-time supercars champion. So, he's been around the racing world for a very long time, and NASCAR fans probably remember his name from a couple years ago because he took over the 9 car on a whim when Chase Elliott got hurt. He drove the 9 car at Coda in 2023. He did not have a great finish there. He I think qualified decent or practiced pretty decent, if I remember correctly, but ends up with a 24th place finish. And then he raced in the Xfinity Series for Colleague, 24th at Portland, 16th at the Roval that year. Now, hopping into the 7 truck is a great ride. Not to say that the 9 car wasn't a great ride in the Cup Series, but he's jumping in racing against the best drivers, in NASCAR. Truck Series, he's coming in a little bit lower competition in a varsity level ride in that 7 truck. So to me, we've got great odds for a driver that has Lime Rock experience. We've seen that work out well. Remember Butterbean or Butterball? I'm gonna get hit over the head, but by our guy Derek Yoder, because I have a hat for the guy who drove North Wilkes-Barre in the 1 truck 2 years ago, and everybody was cheering for him because he was running top 5. I think he finished like top 3. He was like a local legend at North Wilkes-Barre. Well, I'm not calling Jordan Taylor a local legend at Lime Rock, but he's got a lot of experience compared to all these guys. I think this is going to be a big deal. So I think this number is pretty decent. I'm not going to be shocked if he goes out and practices really well compared to some of these other guys, and this number goes away. So that's where we start. He's also in a head-to-head matchup against Lane Riggs. He's going off at like minus 200. Crazy number. We've got a couple like really wonky numbers, minus 200 on a couple different guys, but we're going to talk about Riggs in a little bit. If you're gun ho on Jordan Taylor here driving this 7 truck, I would just like parlay that with something, and have a good time with it. But yeah, Jordan Taylor, I think, is worth an outright play going into it. Now, I'll throw this one out there pretty quickly. How about Brent Cruz, 20-1, driving the number 1 truck? And I'm also going to throw in like a top 5 in there as well. A lot of top 5s. This is a big top 5 night for me because it's tough for me to see someone like actually get into victory lane. It's just such a wonky field. And then you throw Corey Heim in there who could easily run away with it. So top 5 seem to be more like, okay, I'm worth giving this a shot because the numbers that we're getting, these are on Bet365 as well. Plus 325 is interesting. Now he's another like road course type of guy. But it's a long shot in the 1 truck that has been getting better with Brandon Jones over the last few weeks. He's 17 years old. So depending on what state you're in, you might not even be able to make this bet because some states restrict betting on somebody under 18 years old. So Brent Cruz, 17-year-old kid, he finished 22nd at North Wilkes-Barre. But like I said, more of a, road course success kind of guy in the more recent past. In ARCA, he was 3rd in Watkins Glen, 2nd at Mid-Ohio. He had a 23rd at Sonoma, but still good numbers there. 3rd and 2nd in ARCA, in 3 starts, 2 top 3s. Not too shabby here for Brent Cruz. There's a reason he's in this ride for this race. So, Tricon's not going to mess around. They're going to pick someone that's legit, and they're going to give this young kid a shot. So here we go, 20-1. It's just something that it's worth a sprinkle. Definitely not worth, throwing a whole unit on. But it's one of those deals where you bet it on Thursday night and hope that he goes out and practices really well and you get some closing line value. You want to see a driver like this perform well in practice, set himself up for qualifying, and be able to hold on, because these last 2 guys, Jordan Taylor and Brent Cruz, these no live pit stops, these are guys that would be benefit those types of situations. Those teams would benefit from it as well. So I think it's just worth a look. So like I said, different guys, more conversational. It's tough to be, very like gung-ho about any of these guys that are jumping into these trucks, but I think they're very, very entertaining and very interesting bets to make. So let's move then to the placement picks. And I said, like, this is, pretty top 5 heavy. Connor Mosack, again, plus 325. That's like the number of the day, plus 325 on Bet365. He's another one that kind of made his bones coming up on road courses. Tino last night telling us that he was at a race, and the guy he was like kind of standing with and chatting up, he's like, "Oh yeah, my son's in this race. It's his name's Connor." And Tino's like, "Oh shit!" And he realized, like, after the fact, like, "Wow, I was talking to Connor Mosack's dad, telling him, I'm pretty sure the story was like telling him about coming up through, success on road courses." 2022, Mosack was 34th at Mid-Ohio, and that was in Brent Holmes equipment. In Xfinity, he was running for Sam Hunt Racing. So, again, not great equipment. But a 19th at Coda, 24th at the Roval. He had a 5th and a 15th at Watkins Glen. So, not too shabby there. And then in 2024, riding in JRM equipment, Junior Motorsports, 6th at the Chicago Street Race. So, I think, he comes down now to the trucks in a full-time situation. This is why I'm kind of circling Connor Mosack as one to watch, because those races that I just called out, running for Brent Holmes, running for Sam Hunt, the 1 spot start for Junior Motorsports where he had, top 6, those are all well and good, but those were just like dipping his toe in the water. He got the full-time ride now running in this 81 truck. And this is, I think, what you're waiting for if you're that team. He's hitting his marks every week, learning every week. He's with the same crew, with the same crew chief, like getting comfortable as the year goes on, not just dropped in like the 2 guys we mentioned before, Jordan Taylor and Brent Holmes. They're just getting dropped in and saying, go. Mosack, being a younger guy coming up, he's got a lot of time now, 14 races to get comfortable with this team. Now he's going to a road course where, okay, they need to make some noise. They're like 16th in the points. They're not getting into the playoffs. A win would be, astronomical for this team, but a top 5, I think, is well within grasp. He finished 6th at Pocono last week too. Like, pretty decent momentum coming off of a Pocono top 6, heading into a type of track that they probably had circle on their calendar. So Connor Mosack is definitely one to watch. He's got some head-to-head matchups that are out there. Majeski, he was like plus money against him. We'll talk about Majeski in just a bit, but keep your eyes peeled for Mosack heading into this weekend. The next guy is a guy that we've bet on a few times. So all those guys we mentioned so far, they're new names for the show and the betting card. Chandler Smith is not. And Chandler Smith, I'll tell you what, I think he, amongst all these ringers, I think him, and Corey Heim, this guy might be one to watch for a victory. But again, shooting for the moon, we'll land in the stars with the top 5 here. Of all the full-time truck drivers since 2022, he has the best average finish. Only 3 starts, 3 of the 6 starts, but 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 5.3 average finish. So these are the races that he ran and where he finished. 5th at Sonoma, 6th at Mid-Ohio, 5th at Coda. So I love that. He's right on the cusp. 2 of the 3 races he hit for a top 5. I don't know why they're disrespecting him here. I don't know if it's because of all these other guys coming down. I'm really unsure. There are some guys that the books are in love with that I can't really land on or make heads of tails on. We'll talk about a couple of those at the end in the finish line section. But because these other guys are getting some love from the books, a guy like Chandler Smith is being overlooked. And, who knows? We haven't seen him in the truck series in a couple of years, but 3 starts in trucks on road courses. He handles himself very well. Like I said, very solid numbers there. So sneaky solid for Chandler Smith. We'll see if he can sneak a top 5. If you don't like that, Bovada and, books that share those APIs, they have group bets out there, and he is available on Group C for plus 160 to take down Honeycutt, Brent Cruz, and Annunziata. Okay, now Annunziata is driving the 07 truck. So, I'm looked into Annunziata. I'm really not that nervous about him unless he goes out and he's lightning fast in practice. But Brent Cruz, like I said, we're taking a flyer on him for an outright. It would be magical if he pulled that off. And Caden Honeycutt, I don't really understand what the books are in love with Caden Honeycutt. They have him priced higher than Chandler Smith. He's got much less experience. And I'm a Honeycutt fan, but I don't see it here. So I'll take Smith plus 160 over those 3 guys. It's kind of like leaking into the head-to-head section or the matchups because I haven't really landed on a great matchup. So here's a group bet. Typically, I shy away from groups. I think they're harder, much harder for me to win. I haven't had a ton of success in Cup Series betting. But this one, from my research, I got to trust what my research and what my gut is telling me here. I think Smith's going to have a good race. I think he's going to go overlooked, and I think he's better top to bottom. That team is better. He is better than all 3 of these guys on a road course in general. So we'll go with this truck and see what Chandler Smith can do for us here. The next one, and again, this is, I guess, now moving into more of our matchups, we'll go to Grant Enfinger. So this is another group bet. Grant Enfinger plus 200 Group D to beat Josh Bilicki, Perez de Lara, and Raja Karuth. Look, I could be crazy, right? Perez de Lara could have come up, running road courses. That is very possible. But come on, it's Grant Enfinger. It's somebody that we actually have data on. We can pull that information and see what he's working with here. 11.2 average finish in 6 starts since 2022. That's 5th in average finish in the truck series. This is the thing with Grant Enfinger. 1 top 10, but he's 6 first 6 finishing inside the top 15. That's consistent. So if you're telling me Grant Enfinger is definitely going to finish 12th, like inside the top 15, give me 12th for Grant Enfinger. I have to take that at 2-1. Josh Bilicki, what are we talking about? The books love him this week, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just being disrespectful. I'm not particularly scared of Josh Bilicki in a 44 niche truck. Spot start for Josh Bilicki, a Cup Series backmarker his whole career. I don't know. I don't particularly remember Josh Bilicki being like lights out at road courses or being a threat in any case. Perez de Lara, Raja, like who knows what we're getting with those guys. They have to step up. They have to like really show something in order to be in contention to finish top 10. You got to be top 10 to beat my guy Grant Enfinger. And so 2-1 in Group D. This is on Bovada and any books that have those similar. I think Bet365 might actually have a similar lines. That's what's interesting to me. So Enfinger, just calling him out as someone to watch as well. Those guys, if I was the books, I'd be putting Enfinger in a group with some bigger name guys. How about Ben Rhodes or Stuart Friesen or stuff like that? These guys, this seems like punching down to me. Correct me if I'm wrong. Call me out. Tell me what I'm missing here. But Enfinger definitely has my attention in this group. All right, so now we'll get to the finish line. Like I said, more conversational this week. I want to talk about some of these other matchups, some of these other drivers. So I guess I'll keep it pointing at matchups here, but consider this the finish line segment. Hemrick is someone that I really am focused on this week. He scored a top 5 for us by the hair of his chinny chin chin at Pocono. It should have been a much easier lock for a top 5, but he made it. That team made it more difficult. They still hit for us, so we're going to go back to it. Cam Waters is driving that 66 truck, and I looked into Cam Waters as this ringer. I'm trying to pull up my numbers here for him. I didn't particularly love what we were seeing here. He's driving the 66. He's another supercar guy, 35th at Sonoma, driving for RFK. He had a 19th place finish at Tricon. Not too bad, but very little information on Cam Waters and, how his success in other vehicles could correlate to the truck series. I'm looking at his NASCAR numbers and there's just not much there. So Cam Waters is somebody to maybe look at for after practice, super focused on him in practice. But Daniel Hemrick is not one to be trifled with. And so the line here is ridiculous, -180. When we were talking last night, our little powwow after the draft with Ryan and Tino, we were saying you kind of have to take Waters plus 160 over Hemrick just because the number dependent. Now I kind of, I don't want to do that anymore. I was looking into Hemrick, not a lot of information on him, but I wanted to focus on his Xfinity Series numbers because that's where he has spent a good chunk of time in, the more recent past. So looking at his Xfinity stats, 26 road course starts, 7 top 5s, 10 top 10s, a lot better than I thought, right? I did not expect to see those types of numbers. And I'm just going to go through some of these here. 2nd at Mid-Ohio, 3rd at Mid-Ohio, 3rd at Road America, 10th at the Roval, 3rd at the Roval, 3rd at Daytona Road Course, 2nd at Road America, very close in Xfinity equipment for JRM and RCR. So coming down now to race in that 19 truck, I think he is another kind of snake in the grass. He's another one plus 325 for a top 5. So it's interesting. I don't quite understand why he's being overlooked. It's not like he's just a Cup Series driver coming down with not a lot of experience. He's had relative success on road courses. Christian Eckes in his last 6 races, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, excuse me, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s in 6 starts on road courses. So that's, Eckes, obviously the driver, hopping out of that 19 truck. So he's coming onto a team that isn't a slouchy team either. So Daniel Hemrick, this is one, you don't take this matchup straight up. You parlay that with something, maybe Jordan Taylor and that other one. But Hemrick, I kind of have him written down as like a question mark here. Like, how can we play him? So Daniel Hemrick, I think, is kind of like Chandler Smith territory, like could be a little sneaky here. All right, let's get to this next one. These are 2 guys that I'm just dying to talk about. ESPN Bet all day, apparently, has had their matchups up blanked out. And, as we're talking, as I'm recording here, I'm going to pull it up right now just to see, just double check, see if I'm right. But it's been frustrating because they've got some and they're still blanked out here. I'll show you. I don't know if you could see that, but you can't click on anything. And I want to very badly. For example, that Hemrick matchup, he's minus 150 over Waters. I would take that. We've got this matchup here, Majeski and Riggs. And I don't understand the books being in love with Lane Riggs. He is priced short to high on the board to win the race. And as far as I can tell, he's got 1 road course start, finished like 30th, and doesn't have a lot of like lower level experience either. Like I was looking at his Wikipedia page to try to see like, what can I get? Make it make sense. I don't understand. And, in our group chat, Ryan was saying like, I think it's just that car or that truck is fast right now. That's what it comes down to. The win last week at Pocono is helping that. So maybe it's recency bias, but I like Ty Majeski plus 120 in this matchup because Majeski is one. I know he has struggled, but he is someone that we can see has had success. 9.7 average finish for Majeski in the 6 road course races. He's got 3 top 5s, a 50% hit rate for top 5 finish, 4 top 10s, and 5 top 15s. So, and it's funny, in 6 races, 9.7 starting position, 9.7 finish position. So, maybe he is going to finish where he qualifies, but he is so consistent that I see that. It's tangible. I can feel it, right? But Riggs, we don't know what we're getting with Riggs. So if they open this up and I can bet on it, I'm taking plus 120 pre-practice on Majeski over Riggs because I just got to trust the numbers. Now, if Riggs goes out and has a rocket ship, okay, more power to him. But still doesn't mean he's going to go win the matchup in the race. There's, learning the track and everything like that during the race. So, ESPN's a tease right now, but Majeski over Riggs is definitely one that I'm trying to click on. So, wanted to mention that one. Next one, we have 2 guys that are like so close together. Looking at the numbers here, and I'm leaning Rhodes, which is crazy because Ankrum has made us money this year, but Rhodes on road courses is slightly better. Now, head-to-head, the last 6 races, they're 3-3. But looking at Rhodes' last, few finishes, 7th at Coda a couple years ago, 5th at Mid-Ohio, 10th at Coda the year before that. I guess he's pretty damn good at Coda. He's got a 7th, a 10th, and a 4th. So really good numbers for Ben Rhodes at Coda. But overall, just a better average finish for Ben Rhodes compared to Tyler Ankrum. He's got a worse starting position, which to me is intriguing because, we're not going to probably have head-to-head matchups from where they start. But what it tells me is he's able to kind of survive rough starting positions on road courses. He's got a 96.2 driver rating in those 6 road course races. That's more than 10, 11 average points better than the guy he's going up against, Tyler Ankrum here. Ankram's got a average top 10 starting position. And, on average gets a little bit worse. So I like Ben Rhodes, the ability to maybe start worse than you would hope and be able to overcome that on these types of tracks. So, Rhodes with 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s in the last 6 races. I'm leaning Rhodes in that matchup there, minus 120. And that's on a couple different books. I believe Caesars is what had it. But, and then the last one, kind of throwing it out there, I don't like the number, minus 140, but I do like Stuart Friesen and what we, kind of see from him over the years. A 13.7 average finish, 2 top 5s, 50% hit rate finishing inside the top 10, 5 for 6 finishing inside the top 20 on road courses. With Friesen, like that's exactly what I expected. I didn't, know for sure, but if you would have put me on the spot before I was looking up the numbers and say, where's Stuart Friesen finishing, Phil? I would have told you, probably around 15th. And that's, kind of exactly where he's at, 13.7 average finish. Jake Garcia, I mean, he's another one where he's having a good year, but only 3 starts, no top 10s at all, 1 top 15 finish. And I understand the minus 140 because of that reason, but I'm kind of hoping that we see this matchup maybe on a different book. Actually, check ESPN, see if they have this one going off the same here. No, it doesn't look like they have these guys. But point remains, this is on Caesars. Keep your eyes out there. Friesen over Garcia or somebody that maybe you consider punching down could be worth a look. So that's kind of all I have for this week. I know I went a little bit longer, but like I said, just wanted to kind of talk things out and give me your feedback. Those are the bets that I found that most made sense. Like I said, top 5s this week are a little bit juicy, longer odds for some drivers that could definitely do it. So I think that's where my focus is going to be. And we'll keep our eyes peeled on practice 1 p.m. on Friday, and then maybe adjust the betting card for Saturday. So thank you so much for listening. It's going to be a long layoff. We've got a month off for the trucks. When, like I said, they come back for IRP. I don't believe I'll be able to put a episode out because I will be on vacation, but you never know. I'll have my laptop with me, so maybe we can work some magic there. Thanks a lot, everybody, and have a good race weekend and a good 4th of July next week.